There's one business that will not go out of business, and that's real estate business. and South India is a very good example of that in terms of the fact that it's among the fastest growing and the most dynamic real estate markets. Cities like Bengaluru, Hyderabad, Chennai, and even Coimbatore are leading both in housing sales and office absorption, outpacing, I'm told, traditional markets like NCR and Mumbai. So let's get straight to the chase on this one. And let's welcome Sanjay Dutt, Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer, Tata Realty and Infrastructure. Very warm round of applause.
Thank you.
He's a top expert on the subject. And so while keeping South India in mind, maybe we can get a brief overview of how the real estate market in India is. Is it booming? Where is it going? And how is South India doing in comparison to the rest?
Sure. So the biggest demand driver of any economic activity is the jobs. And the commercial real estate is on the forefront. In last 2 years, India has done about 80 million square feet absorption in the top 8 cities. And South covers roughly about 60% of that market. And this is consistent. So IT and e-commerce, telecom, banking, financial services, healthcare, all of these are the drivers. And they all are seeking top talent. And South actually represent a very healthy pool of talent. In fact, right this city, Coimbatore, with over 400 colleges and talent, where you have more than 70% of the workforce local, not 35%, which normally is the case in many other cities, largely dependent on migrant, is the biggest attraction for any city.
Okay. That's very happy news for all the Coimbatorans here on this one. But let's start with 2 segments, of course. Let's start with the home prices in the south. They apparently have surged quite considerably. 50% is the last estimate we've heard in 2 years, the past 2 years. How sustainable is this growth? And let's look at the affordability versus the wage growth gap. There seems to be availability and affordability at the high end, but there is a lot of availability, but no purchases happening in the middle end. Is that a fact or lower end? How does the market show?
The affordability of real estate will always depend on the income availability of the people. I think the prices, if you look at Form 16 of any employee in the room, you will see a surge in income. Yes, sometimes real estate markets are speculative and people tend to invest more in real estate and then leads to high prices and becomes beyond reach sometimes, but it's not sustainable beyond a point. So I think there will be a slowdown, correction, consolidation eventually, but keep in mind every time it comes down, it goes up higher than the last peak. So it will always remain attractive.
So it's like the stock market in India. It does go down, but it stays quite high.
Demand and supply.
Right.
Also to throw some light, land valuations have gone up. Because sanitized land is difficult to get. Then you have to invest in approvals, you have to invest in design. Also the standards of living, the expectation, the aspirations have gone up. So the infrastructure that you're building in housing complexes today are not what they used to be. So you want to have the experience of a resort or a hotel or a very well-equipped infrastructure. And for that, you're willing to pay a premium.
Right. Let us talk about the challenges you face. There is a lot of positive that's happening, but when you look at ease of doing business and other factors, how would you rate that and what are the key,
Ease of doing business, and if I may put it, cost of doing business in India is an issue. India is one of high cost of capital, high cost of land. So when you spend 100 rupees, you spend nearly 85% on the land value in most tier 1 cities. In tier 2 cities, you spend nearly 50% on land value, and the rest is construction. And most of the money goes in cost of capital. So if the project is delayed or if the approval takes longer, the cost of capital is riding on the project, and therefore that gets transferred to the end buyer. So these things play a very important role. If somehow the government can crack approval in less than 3 months, including environment, very objectively I'm talking. And then if you do the precast construction and the technology that is available today, we enhance those and reduce the project cycle from 5 years to 2.5 years. you will never talk about affordability. It will be affordable, and it will be efficient, and it will be accessible, and you can scale much faster.
One of the things we noticed was that did a conclave, India Today did a conclave in Dubai recently. And you could see the pace in terms of, firstly, anyone you spoke to said there were minimum clearances required. There was a policy laid down. There was no greasing of the palms. If there was, it was very, very low. And also the fact of delivery and time. So everything was monitored very closely, and the government did that as a facilitator. It said, these are the rules and follow it. Is that something that you can replicate in India, or is just too far gone with multiple agencies seeking clearances from a builder?
You see, many of the times I've seen references given of Singapore and Dubai, but these are one city country. So when you're in one city country, you actually evolve and you fix those problems. And they're easy to manage because it's just one city, one municipality, one approval, one developer authority, etc., etc. But when you're in a large country where you have a federation and therefore each state varies, even though you now have unified DCPR, etc., etc., it is complicated. If we can standardize these policies and framework, yes, we can. If we make it deemed approval, for example, if I file an application for approval and if I don't get the approval in next 2 months, it is deemed approved. If that pressure on the bureaucrats and the government department is there to perform, why not? There are many states already which have implemented Right to Services Act and the deemed approval process, where you can actually self-load and assess and comply with the rules and regulations.
Does South do that, the states in
There
South?
are some cities in South, states do that as well. Not very well known, not very promoted, but I think that's the way to go forward. If you really want to add another 1 or 2% of the GDP through real estate, it can happen through accelerated approval process and better policies and framework.
Quickly, what is we talked about the housing. In terms of commercial spaces, what's the big trend in India and particularly South?
This year in 2025, for the first time in my life, I've seen 50% of the office absorption was by Indian companies. Traditionally, 70% of the leasing was by American companies, BPOs mostly, and again, 70% was nearly IT companies. Today, the landscape is the IT is only 45%. And non-IT companies, telecom, e-commerce, banking, healthcare, etc., are the rest.
Right.
Which means less concentration. So concentration risk has reduced. Also, the dependency on global corporations is also reducing, which also means that the Indian corporates are growing and expanding. And that's the real story, the India story, which is domestic consumption and growth, the startup, environment. All that is going to help and boost the economy in terms of commercial real estate as well. And mind you, we were only talking about commercial as office, but now you have shopping center and office REITs. You have InvITs. You also have data centers. You also have senior living, which Coimbatore is known for.
Right.
You also have co-working and co-living. So the segmentation of real estate and institutionalization is on a very high end.
And finally, I know while a lot of luxury homes are in demand, the middle income, low income is less in demand. I don't know if that's a correct statement. What can we do to enhance, particularly we can see housing is a huge priority for various governments. What is the way out for them to build good houses, affordable for the state as well? Is there a solution that you think is...
The government only takes away nearly 50% through the taxes on the property. So they need to first fix that to be upfront, honestly.
Right.
You cannot, like I mentioned at the initial stage, land place 50% to 85% of the project cost. Right. So the government needs to facilitate railway authority, defense authority, you talk about municipal corporations, you talk about Port Trust of India. So many government bodies own land in the city, which is not being put to use. They need to monetize and unlock those, make the land available, make the land cheaper available for affordable housing, and then allow private developers to build those under tax benefits, which the government has already done. Unfortunately, the government has given tax benefits to the developer, but everything else is expensive. So taxes are still high, capital is still high, land value is still high, and you still don't have, in many places, road and transport connectivity. So what's the point of going 50 kilometers from the center of the city and doing affordable homes when people can't commute? So these are the very obvious challenges to address the affordable housing.
Sanjay Dutt, we have almost out of time. Last question, technology. Are we at the cutting edge? What's the best in building technology? How quickly can we turn around things?
India is building world-class properties with the best of the global standards that you can imagine. We have the best class infrastructure. Because we have the best infrastructure, the global corporations are coming to India. And we have the best talent, and that's why global corporations are expanding in India. There are many IT companies which have 65 to 70% of the global workforce in India. And there are likely to be many other companies which will take the 10 or 15% of the global workforce to 30 to 40% of the global workforce in India. Right. So I think we are using technology, et cetera, It's just that we need to address the scale and the bureaucracy and the hurdles and hindrances and open up to accelerate the growth.
Sanjay Dutt, thank you for your candor. There's so many good examples that he's spoken about. I think the state government should listen to him. Very, very warm round of applause for Sanjay Dutt of Tata Realty. Thank you.